everyone. I hope you all are doing good and are safe. My name is Priyanka, and I am a UX researcher and trainer at UXExpert. I welcome you all to today's UX talk. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, Mr. Aditya Kulkarni. He is an entrepreneur, product evangelist, and strategist with 18 plus years of experience in investing, building, and running technology businesses with product in AI, social digital marketing, and CRM domains. Aditya has played various key leadership roles in product and engineering in his career so far. He has worked as developer, software engineer for Nomadic, EQ Technologic, Invensys, Openwave, and Ruxin. He has also worked in a project manager as a project manager for Persistent Systems. He was a CTO of Mobi Technologies, which was acquired by PubMatic. He was a vice president of emerging media at PubMatic and has been a mentor, founder, a member of board, and investor for various other startups. He is a co-founder and board member of Lemma Technologies and is a founder and CEO of Amplifyreach, which is focused on real-world applications of artificial intelligence. And today he is going to be speaking about UX for conversational AI. Welcome, Aditya.
Glad to be here. Thank you very much for having me.
Now, before Aditya speaks, we also have Mr. Tushar Deshmukh here. I would like to give a little introduction of him as he has created this amazing platform for us. UXExpert is one of the top 10 user experience service provider companies in India, and Tushar is founder and CEO of the UXExpert. He is also the director of UXUITrainingLab, which provides professional training in human-computer interaction, usability, user psychology, user research, prototyping tools, and front-end development in various languages. And Tushar is working towards many more courses related to UX to be launched soon. Though this platform Through this platform, he is not only training people but also provides jobs as well as entrepreneurship opportunities to his students. He is a visiting professor at Symbiosis Institute of Design and has given speeches at various other conferences. He has been working in this field for more than 20 years now and has worked as developer, designer, researcher, almost every phase of product development. He works as a UX consultant for various other companies and is also founder of Organize My Hotel. Also, he has been working with Aditya at Amplifyreach. I would request Tushar to talk about it a little.
Thank you, Priyanka, and welcome, Aditya. I think this is very different platform we are connecting with each other. Yes, definitely. Me and Aditya, I think we know very quite long. I think from college days. And Aditya from very bright student from that time. Definitely. So today's we are. And thanks Aditya for this your time for UX community and your valuable insight will be definitely give some insight or light on what is the AI field is coming. So there is always curiosity among designers about AI field and how they can pursue their career or how they can become part of AI companies which do the AI, artificial intelligence, and various other things. So yes, so we can start on this today's, and I will hand over to Aditya. Uh, so just before that, I will just few lines about UXTalk. So UXTalk is a platform now. Many people are like they know what is UXTalk. It is a platform which we created for UX community. So during the COVID time, so we thought we should have the awareness about UX, and we started this. So far, we have a line of subjects we have covered, and during this similar line. Today we have artificial intelligence as a subject, and today we have Aditya with us. So I just request Aditya, we can start on today's. Yeah, Aditya, you can start.
Thank you very much, Tushar. Definitely, UX Talks is a very good platform, and people that you had who innovated and who built practically the field of UX. It's really useful for the community. Uh, Irrespective of whether we are in right now serious COVID time versus anything, getting to learn new thing is something that is enabled with the internet. Globally, it has been with a different speed. India in last 5 to 10 years saw very good happening, and that something is providing us opportunity to connect right now. Even if we cannot meet physically in the physical form, face to face, we are still seeing that yes, this is the opportunity we can talk, connect, and hear out each other. This opportunity I'm going to use to narrow down on particular conversational. When you talk about the AI, there are many fields from fabled or something followed by many Elon Musk type of companies which are following AI in a very different direction, where automotive cars and other things are becoming available. From there to music synthesizers, the music related image recognizer, you might have seen some different type of models where different face giving different audio. All these are the fields of the AI which are definitely interesting, and there are very different applications those will come. For today's discussion, we'll narrow down onto the portion which is a conversational capability. That is something you and me can talk and we can connect, and that is what we are going to focus today on. Tushar, you will need to allow me to start sharing my deck. I will be running through some slides with team.
You can try now.
Is it visible now?
Yes.
So let's jump into this. What do you see specifically over here? What you are seeing is something where you see a mother trying to teach kid. You see a young lad, she's looking into the her iPad or her tablet, specifically a customer is doing. This is something phenomena you can see worldwide. Anywhere you go, you try to use that. Even the current days, Prime Video, Netflix, and all those, why we are using is because we are trying to take a control. Now there is no more interest from individuals that, okay, I need to come to you and I need to interact with you. I need to do anything with you in between that specific time called as a quote office hours unquote. People are not specifically interested in that. They want more power around that, and this is what is signified with a digital economy, and that is one charter that came into the picture. If you step back, you will see that this started a long back, where people started to get into the product. There were products which were getting deployed onto the servers at a customer site, and those were something used. Post that, people moved on to the cloud and other type of capabilities. They started to make that as a service, and today we are living in a products which are still being consumed by people like you, me, everyone onto the fly. But how does businesses try to work with us? You Google around anything, you look at a campaign, anything like that, and you will be specifically visited with a contact me form. You will have name, email, subject, and message. This is very, very peculiar. And if something additional, they will also have office hours, mobile or email ID, and those kind of a things, which may be available, but available only during the business times, which creates certain type of a resistance from my perspective. When you look at that particular business, you as a consumer are interested, you want to talk about it, and you want to get and give them a business, but still you cannot do that because you are blocked with this kind of engagement. How do we communicate? I'm in a business, you are in a business, everybody is doing something or the other. What do? We communicate using the something which is to do with instant messaging. It is right now right there. whenever we want, whether you are on the mobile with a WhatsApp, whether you are with the different solutions for the collaboration like Slack or similar, you are communicating instantly, not waiting for that certain email or form, somebody to read and reach out to you and do that. And numbers speak. These are something giving a very, very clear indicator that this is the truth. This is going to go and get much bigger in that sense. If you look at the WhatsApp, Messenger, numbers have crossed billions with a monthly active user, and that something is there. Even if you open anybody's mobile today, you will see first screen which is represented as a specific chat applications, messaging applications as the first one. Those come to the mind and which we'll start to use. You're not going to find many business applications unless it is required something like your bank account or something, but that also you may not want it to be there, and so on. This leads to my very strong argument that we are leading into the live-in relationship, and we are looking at developing conversations. Ultimately, as a brand, when you are trying to interact, you're trying to ultimately go get into my shoes, trying to make me understand what do you require, what do you understand, and that is what communication starts. And this is what the economy, where subscription economy comes to play. If I'm getting a value that you are delivering, then I'm going to be okay with that. I will pay your monthly subscription, and that is what will go. And this you see more not into the SaaS, but also into the physical and digital goods. That's why you will see that, yes, this is something changing between the brand A coming to the go and brand C going to do that. Even if you look at a very larger picture, if you are at an early stage of a beginning of your career, you will see that 50 to 60% of a what Forbes 500 list was there has completely vanished from last 10, 20 years. Why is that? Because all those businesses we started to teach us that we need to do certain things in certain way, whether it is our college or whether it is our MBA, it's no more existing. That business model had changed. And that is where the condition to develop that relationship is important. Simple thing in this photograph, what do you see? How that communication is built is based on that portion. So that is like a must for any relationship. Call it as oxygen. Otherwise, all those faces that you're seeing right now, like that, you are going to have a no face, no stone, everything. With that, how can a businesses and everything around us can take up this challenge? I will like to quote Peter's very famous quote over here, that if you want to do something, you have to stop doing the same thing again and again. You cannot yield a different result. And that is very, very important to understand. Businesses now will have to change the way they want to interact with the customer. Of course, there are 10 types of different things, those are available, but also they have to understand consumer needs from where they need to come to. This is where the Abhijit Desh, you want to say something?
No, sorry, that was by mistake.
Okay. So, okay.
Yeah, Aditya, continue.
Okay, I don't know how to remove that line. Probably that will be something, annotation stopping, something like that, maybe. Okay. Okay, so this is where our part of the page has to come to the instant messaging. No more forms, no more anything. There is a wonderful exercise that I did during my part of career where we were basically, after working with PubMatic, I saw that yes, brands are spending millions, if not billions of a dollar to reach out. If you look at the largest companies in the world, like a WPP and all those, which pay Google and Facebook multi-billion dollars, what all they are doing is that from mom and pop type of a shop to largest business that we know, they're collecting money, they're advertising that, yes, Aditya, Tushar will see one day their advertisement, they will click and land on to certain landing page and they will interact. This is where we see this form, and this has to go away and come to the instant communication. Whether you are on the mobile, you are on the web, this is where it has to start, and this is what we are presenting. And Amplifyreach is one of those such companies which I had privileged to work with a very solid team, which built that kind of a solution where they are providing about it. But today's discussion will focus on to larger picture of what we have to offer and we have to get over there. Let's deep dive into, as we said, understand what is it that is there for the NLP. You must have understood that yes, there are English words that we will speak. You will speak into Marathi, you will speak into Chinese, Arabic, wherever you are, and that something is there. The step one, it is called as a keyword base. Now, keyword base may not always denote. Let's look at how you and me as a human do understand language. If you look at a sentence where I have highlighted that, can you give me list of authorized service center for Hyundai in Mumbai? From a natural language perspective, if you look at what is it that this sentence gives me, if you parse this sentence, it will tell that action is around the giving. Object is about the list. So it is talking about some list. What is it? I don't know. But supporting clause explains that authorized service centers. And obviously, okay, so sorry about that misnomer. Location has to be Mumbai and organization will be Hyundai. Okay, so those two things will come to play and you and me will be able to understand. Now, if I take this example and try to, let's say, reintroduce myself. In place of Aditya, let's say I'm introducing myself as I'm John. Constructing this sentence, I am a give you information that next thing that is going to come is a proper noun, which will be my name. And that is where if I have introduced myself as a John, you'd have said that, hi, John. I introduced myself as Aditya, you said, hello, Aditya. So that is what comes to the natural language. And this is not keyword driven. There are also examples, for example, you're a brand, let's say you're selling shoes. If you say that I want to tap what customer says, and I will go with a keyword base where I will tap that, yes, if customer comes and says that I want to buy shoes, then I will give him a shoes related item. It could be my search engine, it could be my anything, and I will make it available over there. Let's say somebody comes and says that I want pizza. How will your system understand? You and me as a human will make it understand. We do not serve that. We serve shoes or we sell shoes. That kind of interaction that you will provide. Here, 2-3 things are happening. We are providing them impetus about clarity. What do we do? We are not saying that, sorry, I couldn't understand and that kind of a thing. It is leading customer to the right set of question. And that is where it is interacting. So it is not a keyword driven, but essentially the natural language driven capabilities, those are coming to play. And this something opens an avenue for the customer service, for the inbounds and related, which is unprecedented scope that it provides. When you work on to the natural language processing, whether you work with a Google Dialogflow, whether you work with a IBM or Microsoft, if you are a developer, then you will go into coding with that C# or other type of Java or anything. Or you may be an open source frantic viewer, you will be working with a Rasa.ai or those kind of a thing, but you will very closely hear things like an intent, which sometimes some platforms call actions. You will hear about the entities, you will hear about the triggers, API backend. This is something as a UX designer, you will keep on hearing and you will keep on talking that yes, these things are going to be there and you will need to deep dive into each of that. Stepping back, in the last example, I explained about what is the intent. I said that I want to buy a shoes. So buying the shoes is something that I'm telling it as an intent. That is something which is giving clarity to the system that yes, this person is interested to buying the shoes. Now, as a shopkeeper or as a brand, I may be interested to also sell socks. I may be interested to sell anything related to shoes related item. This creates a different type of intent. Now, wherever you are looking at a certain systems, you need to have a capability to understand, can my system allow different type of intents? Obviously, as a business, you are going to have more than one. Nobody is going to just have one intent where you just sell and you are done. You will be having a support related intent. You may be having some refund related intent and so on. All those things are covered as an intent and system that has a capability to handle those in parallel. The minute you start to have 4, 5, 6, 10, then it starts to add up a capability overhead into the system where system needs to understand and give that input. as a designer for any system, for example, on a mobile screen, you being a UX designer, you are always going to think about what my real estate and what my particular device capability is going to be. You're not going to throw a 100 MB file over there directly, which you may not even do onto the desktop as well. But there you may go up to few MB of downloadable scripts and other things. So from the UX perspective, you need to understand what are the intent action and those how you can create and manage that within the platform. Unfortunately, there is no industry standard similar to HTML or related technologies which you have globally. It's not even a close to, for example, Chrome browser supports X version of a JavaScript versus Edge supports Y versus Firefox and Mozilla will support something different. It's not even that close. It's really disparate between the systems that you move along. So you will need to pay as a designer understanding and specific attention to those portions. Second portion that comes is the entities. What is the entity? Entity is anything to do with which can be physically characterized with certain degree of information. Now this could be something, the quantity of a shoes, this could be something quantity of or color or price or anything to do with that. And it could be also non-trivial considering those information. For example, in a travel case, it could be city type of information where you are looking to get a departure and you are looking at a destination city. You may be talking to me and say that, hey, there is a UXtalk session happening tomorrow. Here, tomorrow becomes entity, which is a co-referencing today's date. And in context of that, it is telling that it is tomorrow, which is the next day. And that something is an entity. These entities create a very important information point. If you think from the traditional UX perspective, typically any field that you create onto the HTML page and you try to build that into the UI, you will have those different fields that you capture information. Many times they could be about the entity, whereas triggering the start of that particular workflow could be about the intent. Assuming this is clear, we can have questions if you have, but I will move to the next point, which is the triggers or APIs or backend calls. Yes, there are systems which can be independent where you may have set of, let's say, FAQs that you are written and system is provided with a capacity to go ahead and look at those FAQs and provide the answers to the best possible means. Consider this as somebody who is, you're walking in the shopping mall and somebody is distributing those coupon or brochures where you are just getting that in the hand and it is declaring that there is a 40% discount. At a food lobby, there is a 10% discount with something else. And those people, they typically just can answer you a thing or two, and then they will say that, hey, go and visit the shop. So from that perspective, there is a very small portion of the things that can happen independently without a backend. And this backend is where we dive into the technology portion and cross a barrier from just a UX designer to a chatbot builder to a programmer and the enterprise system portion. But good portion is that a lot of this work is already done. And you may be surprised to go to any system and find that, hey, this is already available. And what immediately access provided is through REST API. And this REST APIs gives rise to any type of a connectivity that you need to build. Many of you might have used Zapier or those kind of an integration platform, or even certain degree of RPAs or robotic process automation type of a platform, which can connect to different systems out of the box and provide that capability. So this trigger or API or backend calls is certainly definite or must for enterprise or business to provide. And why it is important as for you as a specific conversation designer is going to be understand that what is it available. When we dive into the specifics about the opportunities that you can enhance specific type of skills for bot building or the interaction that you're designing is tremendously dependent on this kind of a nimble capability of an organization to provide those REST APIs or triggers that they call it as. For example, let me call it as take an example. Okay, you are creating a advertisement for there is an opening in my company, and very standard opening, and you provide that input and you are going to say that submit your resume. A few years back, there was an opportunity where you had to write a complete cover letter. You will attach your email, post that you will go and fill form by form different types.
Aditya, I think you have just.
Okay. So something put me
Yeah.
on. I don't know where it happened, but okay. Last point that I was saying was around the resume, where you upload the resume and you will get into putting the information that into the form. You will put joining date, you will put the last date and so on. Now, if you are considering the system and designing, now you see a very different thing can happen, and that is available even on the Amplifyreach website. You can go, you can upload the resume, and that resume could be immediately passed to collect basic set of information. And most of the top employers, you will see you are uploading that information, your resume is getting passed and is getting automatically populated. That is the next level of interaction that you are providing. And how does it come to picture is based on the back end, which has a capacity to go pass those content and put that into the respective pieces. There is a very specific way that human will communicate and give that serial chronological order. Either they will start with the latest at the top or they will start with the oldest, which is very rare, but they can still do that. So from that perspective, you can match and start to understand what is it that they are going to give. So that is where the enterprise system or the trigger or REST API, they will come to play. So you go to any platform in nutshell, you will have to be aware about the intent or action, entities, and the backend system that you are specifically working for. You may be in a service company, you may be in a product company, but ultimately you are developing that software, keeping in mind the end user and what your internal systems has that capacity for. Specifically going from the user research, why it is important in this particular segment is because you are communicating instantly over there. And this is what puts a very, very tricky situation for user interface or that designer to modulate and come across as a conversation designer. First of all, you will need to understand the specific segments that you are trying to do and where this particular technology and other things can help you. In a B2B segment, you could could be something like a digital assistant for roles. You may be doing it for the sales team. You may be doing it for the marketing team. You may be doing it for the support team or even the HR team internal. What will it do? Sales, for example, simple example is, let's say, calendar booking. There is a very good example, X.AI, which provides ability for you and me to put that X.AI into the CC and specifically allow exchanges between you and me to happen to find the most appropriate slot on your calendar, where X.AI you are enabled at your end. How does it happen? It analyzes what content you are given into the mail, and that can connect back with you. If you're a HR and you're trying to do certain things, today bot or those kind of a systems can come as a single window application and provide you policy related information. What is your leave balance and those kind of a thing. Many large companies will face a problem where you cannot go and find immediately, even in your intranet portal, where do you ask that question? Where do you take a leave? For a new starting employee, it is difficult. What that particular employee does first, he looks at around and who sits on the next to him, he is going to talk and ask, where do I put this information? How do I do that? And immediately that next person will show. If you look on that particular micro instance and scale it to macro level, for a 10,000 people company who has been getting employees every month, it's a good amount of time that is getting shared and maybe wasted. Yes, they are connecting, they are doing that, but why enterprise cannot do the same for particular employee? Same if you take it to the customer, then problem becomes even multiple fold, and that something creates opportunity for a B2B to provide better engagement using the natural language. And this is where the UX needs to understand what exactly am I trying to do, come to that particular minimal point and get that thing done. And this is where the research can bring it availability. For B2C, it's practically even bigger. So if you look at an insurance company, if you look at a banking company, or for that matter, anything to do with a large scale where you are as a consumer going, and there are going to be issues between different times of the day. For example, during morning, evening, and particular night hours, there are going to be peaks which you will observe as a system. I won't name a particular instance, but there are two major e-commerce companies in India. One e-commerce company during Diwali sale never gets a problem. Second company gets a problem where you will be seeing the page, something went wrong. Why is that? Because it couldn't handle that particular peak portion. And this is where the conversational capabilities can come and help in sales. They can come and help in understanding product. They can help answer few questions. If you're not a prospect and if you're existing customer, it can help to create a request, whether it is a support request, whether it is giving a gyan or giving some information, that is something going to be available. So that is where the B2C comes and it plays the very, very important role to provide that unprecedented scale. Believe me, it is not very easy to go get into that shoes where you have that much successful product, but to keep it that way and not face that problem which I spoke, that last 10 years, good amount of Fortune 500 companies, and last 20 years, almost 50% companies have died out. If you don't want to see that, you need to consider that how you are going to manage it, and not, it is not for today. That problem was for yesterday. You had to fix it. As a designer, you also need to understand very well the context of that particular session. Very, very simple example. You have launched a campaign and you got me or anybody as a prospect to click that ad and come to your landing page. You shouldn't be providing 10 type of options that you're looking for. You'll be looking for that particular page related context. That becomes a very, very important. Let me take an example. Regular insurance site can have a 10 different offering. They can provide a travel insurance, two-wheeler insurance, health insurance, and so on. But if you are on the Google and let's say trying to travel to Goa and what are the best travel, and that is where you see advertisement, get your best insurance, COVID coverage. You got interested, you clicked on that. You are on to the landing page of that insurance company, which says that, yes, this is something we provide and bot is there to help you. At that point, as a designer, you are going to decide that, yes, I'm not going to offer him that two-wheeler and other thing. I'm just going to focus on a travel or maybe a medical insurance. That is what I need to provide at that point. This is the very simple case of a context that you need to provide, where same bot can work over here. And in the last point, we'll cover that how these platforms that you select are going to help. So this context becomes a very, very important, which you need to understand. And as you start to evolve and create design for your interaction, this is where it comes to play. Now, you all are really better at a complete UX than me. So fourth point is going to be about a persona. And this is where the persona in the normal UX versus conversational UX differs. Here in the conversational portion, whether you are doing the text-based conversation or whether you are doing the voice-based conversation, when you talk about a persona, it's going to be about that particular voice or text-based virtual agent. That is what it is about. You will see that even if you go to Google, which with Android phones, most of all you have, you will have that with a 6 to 8 type of a different voices between female to male and specifically talking in different way. That is a type 1 of the persona. Second type is about the business culture of that particular enterprise or company that you are representing. In the banking or the insurance setting, you will be quite a formal. You will be talking to how may I help you, sir, or madam, and so on. So you will try to be in that particular scenario. Versus if you are a chain and that is into, let's say, sports bar type of a thing, and you are accepting a booking, you're not going to start with the same thing. You may start very, very differently, where you can have a persona of a very friendly guy that knows you and which makes you get the best table possible at the best time. And this is what the second type of thing will come. So first, it's about the incarnation, about the how specifically you want to do what type of assurance, empathy, and those qualities come to play. And this is what about the persona in context of a business going to be. Whether you're doing it as a mom and pop or whether you're doing it for a multi-billion-dollar company, you still need to keep that in mind to represent best for that particular brand. And that is where persona can help you very well. Next is a conversational UX. Impact is better in the details. I couldn't find any other way to explain or put that into the slide. So let me explain you. This starts with a very interesting story that very early days in a 2016 portion, we were trying to build a conversation for one of the companies, and they had a plan for 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year. We went with a typical design where we accepted users detail, we calculated some backend magic, and that provided a number based on choices of, let's say, monthly, yearly, and those kind of information. And what it came out was, yes, user selects a first year, you provide first year related subscription information. In the second, you provide total 2 years and 3 years. That was the given scenario. And that is the way their APIs were built and provided as a capability. Now, when we went ahead and we designed this with their product manager, this was something okay, and we were happy about that. Then came the UIT portion where the senior sales guy came and he said that, hey, this is a conversational and this is supposed to be the virtual agent. Then why you are limiting me by asking my choice first? And in place of that, why can't you do one thing that irrespective of what I say, show me and explain me what works best for me? So he was more talking like a counselor or that kind of a persona where that system has to explain that 1 year cost X, 2 years cost just 30% or 40% more than that 1 year subscription of the X, and 3 year if you go with, it will cost a little more. Now, if you take a look at this 3, what will happen is that he was expecting more number of people to move away from the base to the second layer. And that is where he was seeing winning in the pricing as the strategy. And that is where I will say, as a designer, you'll need to have that kind of a research discussion done with the appropriate teams, different objectives of that team, and then you will get that impact with that detail. Practically, we've seen that, okay, the total conversion increased almost close to 30 to 40% based on seasonality for that particular, just because we started to show those other values as well. And it didn't particularly take much of time. It was just internally system had to work a little bit extra, provide those 3 codes, and it started to work. And that is what the beauty about getting that particular input from the different person was about. So this is where your research capability of going, interacting with different people is going to play very, very important role. Lastly, this is ever evolving field. You may hear it for the Elon Musk Tesla cars versus you may hear it for anything and everything. For example, the Google or Siri or Amazon Alexa. The minute your novelty gets over, really is it useful to you? That question prevails. As a designer, when you are designing any conversational bot or voice-based interaction, you will find an enthusiastic inside the organization, which may ask a very tricky question to your system or the platform of your choice, whether it is a Google Dialogflow or whether IBM or whether, again, Amplifyreach type of a company. He or she will ask you, hey, I asked this question and it is not able to answer. Believe me, in reality, it doesn't go like that. People come to your brand for specific objective, and that is where they try to do. If you are in a B2C specific segment, they will still try to focus around what do they want. Very rarely people will try to just hack you, maybe to create a good YouTube video where you will see Alexa versus Google or Assistant trying to fight it out as a war. But in reality, it is not the case, where people will move away from that novelty and they will try to do what they want to do and get away from it. But still, when you consider this as a one of the attributes that you need to consider, you are going back to basic things that you need to provide. In the last slide, we saw that there are intents, those need to be done. Can your system provide 100 intent? Can your system provide 1,000 intent? That becomes a very, very important. getting a policy versus having a complaint about policy, getting a no claim versus getting a bonus are different things. All those things need to come together as your conversation, and you have to help customer. That customer might be your internal customer if you are for HR or legal or those kind of a thing. It could be external customer in most likelihood, and that is where your interaction has to understand that this is the limitation. So when you start onto the path where you want to be a conversational designer, you are given a very awesome medium. You are no more required. Your total addressable market is immediately. For example, you develop on the WhatsApp. You're talking about a billion people market. There is no need for you to spend and people to get your app downloaded onto the mobile. I don't know how many of you have practically worked on that portion of the marketing side, but typically in North America, any install will cost between $5 to $15 for application. Then will you be interested in that, or will you be able to write? So yes, you are provided with a very good advantage of connecting with any existing instant communication system, whether it is a WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, and so on. But same time, you need to understand what your system is capable of and what are your limitations, and design your system accordingly. Get the best out of it, because you are investing time, you are representing a brand, you are giving that particular opportunity for end customer to engage, and taking it back, keeping it communicating with the client is very much important. With that all kind of a base created, now let's talk about how traditional UX and IVR can work better. Just a quick example. You are on a travel portion, you will be presented with a top carousel or something like that. Air ticket booking, hotel booking, car booking, very, very standard. Attributes that you will collect: departure, destination, date in case of tickets. Maybe also you can add number of people you want to travel and so on. Then you will go into the insurance and related portion. Hotel booking, similar: check-in, check-out, occupancy count that you are looking at, single share, double share, and so on. Car booking, similar type of thing, where you will start rental, where you will drop your car on start date and end date. This is where it leads to you to get the code. Similarly, if you consider the systems based on IVR, they will also press 1 to do this, then go for next level, press 2 to do that. Then you will come to the next level where it will again ask you to press 1 to do this and that. So it takes, typically, if you go to any service, you will see that first 10, 20, 30 seconds are just rotating between the IVR on a different level. And this is where India's good source of income, which is the BP industry, is trying to back on, where they are spending this much amount of time and they are saying that this is what automation we are providing, which is something getting challenged with the startups to large companies providing an automation solution, whether it is a text-based bots or whether it is a voice-based communication. And that is where you come to a dialogue design, where as a designer, you will be taking a very different route, where you will provide a pathway for the visitor, whether it is a prospect or customer, to accomplish a task. In an iterative fashion, what will happen, let's call it as an IVR inspired design. I would like to book a flight. Your bot, whether it is a voice or text, will say that, sure, I can help you. What's your departure city? User says Mumbai, and so on. Discussion goes on. Iteratively, I can speak. Is that the way you and me normally will speak? If I'm opening an agency, you will come to me and you will ask, I'm going to plan a travel to, let's say, London, and now I need to book a ticket for tomorrow. Something like that you will say. And this is what the direct capability comes to play. And this becomes another part of your nuance to understand what your system is capable of. And typically all the modern systems in the conversational capability platforms will provide you that kind of a system. Whether you are on a system which is completely non-code type of environment like Google Dialogflow, or whether you are on to Amplifyreach, where you do not need to be a programmer per se to develop a conversation, connect it to backend, or whether you are on a Microsoft or Rasa.ai type of a solution where you are going to have this. But essentially, all those modern systems will provide you capability to some degree with the varying capabilities for this particular direct type of a communication. And see the power of that direct communication. You're nowhere required to spend time in an IVR or different type of capacity. So that's why we personally as a company, when Amplifyreach built from zero to their customer base, we started to see that customers are using it more and more where possible to jump the hoops and come to the conclusion and accomplish the task, whether you are prospect or whether you are customer. And this is where that holistic thought process for the designer will come to play. This is a slide. I won't go into the much detail, but currently systems being not completely independent. Even if you try with a Google, it needs certain portion of the training. Alexa is getting trained as we speak on a different type of a skills. There are people who are developing skills which help to build that. And then there are startups like Amplifyreach, which will have a certain capability. But as a designer, how do you choose? What do you require? So this is a sundry list which you need to look. And this something needs to be available in any system up to the mark. And it needs to provide that kind of a thing. Obviously, if you talk about intent, NLP driven conversation, going into the keyword to increase more hit, that is good, and so on. It provides that all. But also it needs to be hybrid where you need to be able to use carousel control. If you do not provide the direct pathway, you want to, as a brand, provide them opportunity to visually attract. If I tell you that just there is a chana dal and there is a roti and there is this, how interested you will be. In place of that menu card giving you a glimpse of that photograph or explaining that a particular item, or if you are at a do-it-yourself type of site, how much it will be useful for you to get a video clip when you ask that information. This something becomes important, and specifically on a good amount of traffic, like a web site of your own brand, you're going to get that opportunity to present the video. So some user comes and says that, hey, can it integrate with my website? Immediately you can talk and say that, hey, this is the video, you can look at it and it can help you, and so on. When you talk about the system, I, in the beginning itself said that this is ever evolving field. Last few years, it got a very, very good kickstart in terms of a capability. Although you may or may not be aware, but this field has to do with almost 50s and 60s when initial machine learning and those type of algorithms started to come. Those have evolved very, very drastically in the last few years. Also, the infrastructure and computing cost has become easy, so it is evolving. But that is where you have to understand it is not completely independent. And that is what second column is about the live chat kind of a system where real human can start to help. So good amount of enterprise problems should be handled by bot to provide that scale, but still to some degree a human will be required. And that is where you need to have an integrated experience where you can provide a singular platform. So that something comes with a related detail, whether it is omni-channel. If user comes on a WhatsApp, can you support backend on the same software where agent is doing, or does he or she needs to change the solution? In an enterprise, you will find that Facebook account and Twitter account are with a marketing team. Support account owns, let's say, email. Why is that? Why there is not a single inbox that provides a capacity for anybody and support person to be a brand advocate and help that customer? That is where the customer experience is going to come. Your bot is going to provide a scale, but whatever filters through and that cannot be done needs to be handled. And that is where that integrated experience needs to be considered. Last 2 years, that has been the case for many live chat as well as the bot and conversational companies. And that provides a very good opportunity for you to consider it. Once you have made sure that you understand a bit more about your platform, you understood and you are equipped with what it needs to do with building your bot, what are the steps those will come? And this is the block level 7-step process. Sometime it could be 10 steps, sometime it could be 5 steps, but broad level, this is what we see, where you understand the requirement like anything. You work with a backend team to get those automation and other things in the place. Many times it could be an existing out of the box solution that is available. As a designer, you will build that, and conversation builder, it could be the same person many times. They can build. If it is a no code requirement type of a platform, whether it is Dialogflow, Amplifyreach type of a thing, you will have that capacity to do it yourself. But if it is something custom building type of a platform where developer centric, like a Microsoft API, then you will go and have a coder, let's call that as a conversation builder, that they will do. Next step comes is the UIT, where individual counterpart of yours will evaluate as well as different team based on the opportunity. Typically, your bot will reside on your website or on the WhatsApp, on those kind of a channel. So very well chance that marketing and sales team will also get involved. And definitely there are benefits, as I explained a few minutes back. Post that is a pre-deployment configuration, and then obviously you go live. And post deployment, you have to keep that updating. And that is where the last portion of your platform comes to picture. Can your platform tell me what needs to be done? Are people asking shoes company, I want to buy pizza and spending time, or they are doing something useful where they are going to require black color shoes or brown color shoes and so on. So it adds additional capability that you need to address next. But this is what the typical process for you will look like. You have been a UX expert, you have been doing the customer interview. What it will take as this particular era starts to get into the picture. And please understand, this is not only about a chatbot or the Alexa or those kind of a thing. It is more to do intrinsically with NLP, which we tried to analyze in the beginning. For any such kind of interaction, it could be even your search box where you put. I will strongly recommend go across your current different e-commerce and try to use specific type of a terms intelligently and try to see if they can return those things. And that is what shows that NLP design is helping. For example, on a certain e-commerce website, you can go and say that I require brown color shoes, size 10, and available in this kind of a material or something like that. And it provides the result, but majority will not provide. And that is where the UX changing. So conversational capacity, maybe on a broad scope, could be taken as a NLP. So you can use that word interchangeably. But typical background will come with a UX related knowledge, because that leads to the next portion, which is the user research capability, where you have a capacity to understand with a minimal set of questions what your prospective customer is going to use it for, how they will like to deliver, what current process, all those things will come. So it goes again without saying, almost any degree can help. And person has to be comfortable with a choice of tools and understand its limitation, which we briefly discussed almost last 2-3 slides. Best tool for conversation designer, as usual, it goes with a paper pencil. If you love and use some tech tools, doing mind map or flowchart could be the next thing. I have been following this industry, so I saw that Adobe and some competitors are also coming up with their part of tool. It's going to kind of escalate a game and maybe provide a little bit advantage to big players like a Google and Microsoft, and maybe startups like Amplifyreach will some challenge, but let's see how it particularly goes, whether it develops as an ecosystem. But we will be watching that curiously. Next is a logic building. There is no need to say UX designers or UX people cannot need to or do not have to code. Similarly, because of a no code environments, you can have a logic building related interest and capability. So that's something help. And many of the bot development tools and companies, you will find that they have a environment or the studio, which is typically online as a SaaS, and it will allow you to build those particular workflows and deliver. And lastly, since it is a language-based, empathy, common sense, those things are required. You need to consider what you are going to do with that particular interaction. Anything you do, and let's say you are presenting with a option, for example, you are taking an insurance policy related claim. Aditya is coming and saying that, hey, I met with a problem, I need to raise an insurance claim. You, as a human, will ask, can you give me your vehicle number, or can you give me your VIN number? Aditya says that something that, okay, my car is this and this. as a system, your bot is not going to understand. Immediately at that time, in place of saying, I don't know, ideally, you have to, as a designer, educate to the brand that, hey, let's not put that I do not understand. Let's try to get into the area where we can try to re-articulate what we require. And you may say that, hey, you will find your car number or vehicle number onto your number plate of the vehicle. Or if you want to say engine number, you will find it on policy, which is there in the middle. And you can practically put your screenshot of policy highlighted in some box and so show it's there. So that kind of a sense will make a very, very useful conversation building, and that kind of gives a better capacity for user to go interact. Obviously, user Aditya doesn't get satisfied or understand or has a limitation. Excuse me. You will have to hand it over to the human, and that is where that becomes an opportunity. Similarly, all these technologies should be multilingual, where you will have a user coming across different language and platforms, which provides typical capacity. Other than English only speaking countries, you will see that most of the countries have a choice of language between two. Even today, Amazon and all those companies have started to offer their services in 2 localized languages, 3 localized languages, and so on. So having that kind of a capacity to understand that language and other can play an important role. A little bit marketing about a platform that made me learn a thing about a conversational capacity. That's Amplifyreach, and supports multi-language and multiple thing, live integrated platform. You're welcome to visit over there. And this is me, today's speaker, or sharing my knowledge for what I've done with the conversation. Happy to connect you with her LinkedIn, as well as you can connect back to UXTalk, and Tushar will be happy to share anything that you have after this call. Tushar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we can now take questions. But before that, I think Aditya, I think you definitely give a very different perspective about what typically as a UX platform, UX designer think about what is AI. So definitely there is a lot of eye openers today for designers. Let's now start open floor for discussion. So if anyone have questions, please you can use chat for Zoom. So I think already we have
I
some
think.
questions.
Hi
Yeah,
Aditya.
Priyanka. Yeah.
Hey.
Hi Aditya. This is Gopal Juneja.
Hello, Gopal. How are you?
Good, good. First of all, I would like to pay my regards and thanks to you for conducting this session. This is really the conversation UI systems are the wave of future, and it's good that we are listening this from a person who is great in and from the engineering background. And the best part of your session was that you first flourish us with the terminology that we have to use and that we should know, we should understand. I have a question from the terminology itself, like the terminology that was intent, action, entity, and triggers API. I understand that intent, action, entities are for the UX person, and I understand that. Now, I would like to ask question about the triggers API, as we know that there are lots of backend APIs are done already there, and we just have to take it and use it. And of course there is scope as well. We can further elevate it and further can enhance it, further more addition can be done in it. Do we have any specific central repository from where a designer can go and understand, can read all the APIs, can understand what all are the currently available?
Yeah, there are a few repositories where global, I wouldn't say global, but very large pool of the APIs and other things is available. If you're just looking for solving the, let's say, a very particular problem that this is what I need to understand, this is what I need to solve, my strong recommendation will be go to something like a Zapier. It provides you kind of a big library and you can start to use. Basically, it can allow you to connect two systems. Let's say you're working with a startups only and not a specific enterprise. Today, let's say you put some chatbot. I will be happy if it is Amplifyreach, but let's say you put that. collect that detail, but you want to later on pass it on to, let's say, HubSpot or do anything. What do? You can go to Zapier, which can provide and auto connect all these systems. But if doesn't happen, then typically you will have to go with some kind of a third party where you have large repositories, but there are quite a good number that you will find on to Google, where you will find REST APIs, people build it, they publish it, and it is kept as a directory information.
Yeah, thank you, Aditya. And one more question, same, we have Amazon Alexa, Google Assistant, Microsoft Cortana, Apple series, all these APIs, open API, which can be used by anyone, or I don't have much knowledge about these engineering things, backend things. Since you are in front of me, that is why I'm asking this question to the right person.
Thank you for giving me that privilege. But almost every API is pretty much open. Anybody can go and start to build, whether you are looking at a traditional system related API, for example, Salesforce. All those systems are available through APIs, but so is the conversation interaction portion. The minute you start to cross certain degree of a usage, it could be, let's say, 5,000 free, first 2,000 free, and after that it start to ask you to get paid in context of a specific conversational capability platforms. In case of a Salesforce and related, you need to be subscriber of that Salesforce account, then you can get. And over there, what they do is that they will provide you 14 days free. After that, you have to stop. So as a designer or somebody who is trying to build a career into, let's say, as a fresher, I will strongly recommend go register at a free account on both the ends, create yourself that, put it on the GitHub or write a blog on Medium, and that something can become helpful. Anybody wants to try, they just have to go put down their key and it starts to work. That something can be a very, very better option.
Thank you, Aditya.
I think we already have questions. It is from Devarpan. So he has asked, from a designer's point of view, how to design the dialogue workflows and all the possible directions the conversation can go.
Interesting. That's a kind of a different way to look at the things. So if you look at particular options, what you can provide with the system, it's never going to be a complete comprehensive. Even if you talk today to me, let's say I'm a service agent for brand, I do not get to know that particular thing. What my next answer is, I will try to escalate it, or I will try to put it down, and then I will essentially choose one option where I use CRM to put your query question over there, or I can have an immediately manager get involved. Now, out of those two, that is traditionally what you will see. When you are designer and day one, you are developing that, your focus is on trying to identify which are those 20-30% conversations which are taking a good amount of time of current staff. If you do not have a live support or that kind of a thing, then essentially what is it that user are trying to ask more onto the email, and those kind of a synthesis you need to do. Putting simple histogram itself can reveal the information that yes, this 20-30% tasks are pretty much taking a 70-30%. It mainly can be with the onboarding of your technology or related, and you need to come back and say that, okay, these are the small things I will fix. Over the turn, it can turn to add more and more capabilities as a designer. Now flip this coin onto the technology side. What systems can do? Systems can learn up to a certain degree on its own. So that is where the supervised and unsupervised things can come to play. On the supervised learning, that is something recommended for businesses, whether it is a mom or pop or whether it is a big business to go with. The whole reason is that you do not want it to learn automatically something different. For example, in 2016, 17, 18, Microsoft launched different bots, landed on the Twitter, and within a 24 hours of a cycle, it started to pick a bad word, racist word, and it started to answer that. They had to practically bring that down. Now the question is about ethics and everything. So those are the first degree of a knowledge, understanding what you want to learn. Practically, it is very, very simple. When you have a kid in home, you will try to make that kid get the lessons which are best possible. You won't give them a immediately some bad words and everything in front of that, because you do not want it to learn. So similarly, that first quality comes to play. But second is more limiting in terms of a data from the past. You and me as a human can learn that this is the question and this is the answer. But still, as a human, average human, if you go and let's say, again, I will take an example. What is the insurance price for Honda Activa? If you ask that, okay. And if you see last 1,000 conversations and let's say it comes out to be $1,000, you will say that, okay, based on that empirical data, you will say it is $1,000. But very well, at the same time, it could be because of a manufacturing year. There could be a 200 which samples which can say that this was brought into the effect 5 years back, and that's why the insurance is going to be at 200 rupees, not $1,000. So that creates a judgmental error which even me as a human can sometimes miss. So can system, and system falters that very, very big. So in nutshell, whichever is driven through a specific workflow, those answers still you will need to teach to the system. And that is where the designer has to come. And the last step of building the conversation was post deployment. You have to keep on analyzing, you have to keep on understanding where the, as an owner, you need to look at a customer and particular designer that, okay, what is it that they are asking, why they are need to do, and identify that next opportunity to better that. So it is an iterative process. Good thing is it can be done very fast. You do not need to be on the completely developer only kind of a scenario. You yourself can learn and really rapidly build it.
Great. Yeah. Anyone has questions?
I think again Devarpan has asked another question. He's asking, is it enough to categorize the prompts from the user into important data and gibberish for training purposes? How can I train my system better?
Uh, Practically, first you will have to understand what your platform is about. Okay, so it's not going to be a secluded kind of a thing. You may be on a dialog flow, it will have its context in which you can answer that. You may be on a, let's say, completely developer centric platform like Rasa or Microsoft, then you will have a different type of answer. But in nutshell, you need to provide a system opportunity to learn. So it's not a string match, or it's not a, what do you call it, as a same thing that what you're trained needs to be understood. It needs to be about the context, because that is where the intelligence of the choice of your platform will come to play. So if your platform can take one or two example and immediately understand and create a variant of that, that is good. But if it cannot, then that is where the limitation will come and it will play around. So right now, I will say from the evolution of all conversational type of a system, whether it is a voice or text, you will have to play it with the platform, see how variant of that particular sentence or thing can work.
Great. I think that was correct answer.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Okay. Yes, I think uh, so. That much, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have got a question from Sameer. And he's asked, how would AI or ML influence the UX conversation over time?
Interesting. Let's accept that machines are not right now able to understand, for example, sarcasm to great extent. Believe me, many of my friends won't understand sarcasm, and there were time or two where I myself couldn't understand sarcasm. And it took me some time, and maybe later at night, I realized, Abhi, aisa bola tha usne. And that came out as a reaction. Systems do fail miserably over there. Okay, so practically there are areas which will be very difficult. Hopefully, with our researchers developing new algorithm across top universities, top companies, that is something going to help on the phase one. Barring that, me as a any chatbot builder or designer, that could be among the top let's say, last mile type of a questions, where I may be limited certainly in terms of a platform quality as well as the resources, where I cannot really answer that portion as a designer. That is what I will put it into the perspective. So you have to accept that what happens is a real human being can happen for the system. Obviously, a little bit worst case scenario you can assume with that. If you take these two things, then you will get the opportunity to work with the platforms and you start to use their tool. For example, I can speak about the Amplifyreach, where it has a bot failure report as one of the specific report, which tells what all interaction went into the system for that particular user asking about the task. Let's say you were an insurance company and you were looking at a particular aspects, and there will be different set of questions which will provide two category of the answer. One was about that particular intent, which was not captured and understood by the system. So how you can ask that to be added as a variant. That's something very is for the platform builder like Google, or whether it is startups or those who are creating that platform. Versus for you as a bot designer for working for that brand, you will be looking at how to address that using existing means. On the second spectrum, it will also provide opportunity for the things that are not there. For example, you created first understood that, okay, travel is the main thing that people are asking. So first create a travel related bot. But second, you start to see, okay, now that good amount of things are handled by that particular, there is a next opportunity. People are asking questions about medical insurance. And that is where you will understand that is the second area which you will start to get. You may have that, you may not have that, but it provides that product management team opportunity to understand that there is a very good big amount of queries which are coming around that. So those two things you can use together to improve. First thing about technology, about overall solutioning, how it will go, little bit futuristic, but it will happen in due course. Whatever in the current things in the hand, we'll try to make best using these best practices and the platform tools that you are using.
Okay. Any more questions, Priyanka?
Any other questions?
Assuming no question, I'm happy to announce on the behalf of Amplifyreach that come try building your first bot. It's quite reasonably easy. It's a very good skill for you to add to your profile or resume. If you're fresher, it even adds more capabilities for you. Uh, as a UXTalk partner and friend company, we will be extending a specific discount. Bill, once you are over the trial, you can send an email to us and we will be happy to reconfirm with Tushar and team that you were part of this session. And within the month's time, if you are done, we'll provide first 3 months of extension for whatever you are doing on that period. So we'll give that. Just drop a note and we are quite nearby.
Thanks, Aditya. That will be great for to explore the platform itself, and people, as a designer, they can explore the thing, they can try out the things, and they can come up with some good solutions.
Yep.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Uh, yes, I think today's session was really, and thanks Aditya once again for this. Uh, and hopefully, as we are discussing, last night about if we can, because there is a lot of confusion between for AI and UX. So probably we can work out something that, so probably kind of a, I don't know what structure we can call that, but kind of a workshop if you give us a time, so probably that would we can arrange in future time. Uh, so hopefully that will be also value addition for community, and if people are interested in this coming into AI field, so that could be like a practical activity based kind of a thing we can come up. Definitely we'll design something soon, and soon we will post somewhere on LinkedIn so that people can check out and they can join this.
Kind of a training session over weekend where they get to learn a thing to you about platform, build their own conversation. And fortunately, this is something they can take from one platform to another. So it's a good skill to have and understand.
Right. Sure. Yeah, Priyanka, I
Um,
think.
yeah, thank you, Aditya and Tushar, for this amazing talk. It was very insightful. And thank you everyone for attending this session. I hope you all liked it and was able to learn something out of it. So our next talk is going to be on 30th of September in 4 days at 7 p.m. IST, that is India Standard Time. And Mr. Joe Leach, a product coach and author of Psychology for Designers, is going to be the speaker at it. And he is going to be on. He is going to speak on a very interesting topic of making better product decisions with jobs to be done. So I hope you all will attend that session as well, and you will definitely learn a lot like you learned today. And until then, stay safe and stay connected. Follow us on LinkedIn and all other social media platforms for more details on our coming talks. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Aditya, once again. And
Thank
hopefully,
you, Tushar,
yeah,
Priyanka, and Dilesh. Thanks to you,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Thanks. Bye.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Yeah.